the removal process of the Lok Sabha Speaker. Article 94 mentions few of the conditions. He can be removed from his office by a resolution of the House, majority of all the then members of the House. Motion is given to the Secretary General. A 14 days notice is being given to the House. Article 96 basically tells that whenever a resolution for the removal process of the presiding officer, that is Lok Sabha, is being discussed, he cannot preside over the House. Hello everyone. So recently a no confidence motion has been moved against the Speaker of Lok Sabha by 118 members of the Parliament. So in this video, we are going to very thoroughly understand what exactly is the removal process of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. So firstly, what does the Constitution tells about the removal process of the Lok Sabha Speaker? Article 94 mentions few of the conditions that how exactly in different cases of resignation, vacation, what are the conditions which are going to be fulfilled whenever a Lok Sabha Speaker is going to be removed. So it basically tells the first condition is, of course, you need to understand the Speaker of the Lok Sabha is the member of the Lok Sabha itself. So firstly, he is a member of Lok Sabha, then only he becomes the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, right? So the very first condition is, if that person is ceasing to be the member of the House of People, that is the Lok Sabha, then automatically he is vacated from his office. That is the very first basic condition. Then, if the Speaker wants to resign, right, then he can write his resignation under writing of his hand, and he has to address that resignation to Deputy Speaker. And in the matters, if Deputy Speaker wants to resign from his office, he is going to submit his resignation to the Speaker, right? Now the third condition, that is Article 94 Clause C, which is the news and why we are discussing this whole idea, that he can be removed from his office by a resolution of the House of the People, that is the Lok Sabha, passed by a majority of all the then members of the House. Again, you must have seen many a times, or you must have read that we require effective majority for the removal process of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. The term effective majority has nowhere been used in the text of the Constitution. The Constitution tells that for the removal process of the House of the People Speaker, we require a majority of all the then members of the House. I'll discuss what exactly is effective majority. So it is being telling that if a resolution is passed by all the then members of the House, what are the conditions? That such resolution can only be discussed in the House of People if a 14 days prior notice has been given with an intention to move that resolution. So again, a 14 days notice period has to be given, right? Now, there are one more condition that understand ki, let's say there is the dissolution of House of People, that is the Lok Sabha. So does the Speaker vacate his office after the dissolution of Lok Sabha? No. The answer here is no. Article 94 basically tells the Speaker is going to hold his office until the constitution of a newly elected House of the People, that is the Lok Sabha. So once the general elections is happened and 543 members have been elected to the House of People, then the Lok Sabha or the previous Speaker of the Lok Sabha is going to vacate his office. Then what happens? You must have also read this, that President of India for a temporary period appoints a pro-term speaker. What is a pro-term speaker? So again, the newly elected members of the Lok Sabha has to be given oath, right? So the President of India appoints a pro-term speaker among the members of the Lok Sabha itself. So there is a convention that the senior most member is being appointed by the president as the pro term speaker. So the only function of the pro term speaker is to give oath to the newly elected members of the Lok Sabha. Then the President of India decides a date on which the election of the Speaker of the House is going to be conducted. So that is a basic idea with respect to Article 94. What does the Constitution says about the removal process of Lok Sabha? So as I discussed, what do we understand by effective majority? Effective majority, again, it has nowhere been mentioned in the text of the Constitution. It basically means the Constitution tells all majority of all the then members of the House. So what exactly is all the then members of the House? Let's take an example. If the total strength of Lok Sabha is currently 543, out of 543 seats, let's say 3 seats are vacant, which means what? That out of these 543 constituencies, there has been no member who is in Lok Sabha who is representing these constituencies. So again, that is called as a vacant seats. It means there is no one elected or no one is representing that constituency in the Lok Sabha. So those seats are called as vacant seats. So in case of calculating effective majority or effective strength of the House, which is basically called as all the then members of the House, we are subtracting 543, that is the total seats, minus the number of vacancies. So it sums down to 540. So the majority which is required for the removal process of the Speaker of Lok Sabha is majority of this 540. That is 50% plus 1 of the all then members of the House. So a simple trick. So this majority is used for removal process of Speaker of Lok Sabha, Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha, Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Also in case of state legislatures, in case of removal of Speaker and Deputy Speaker of State Legislative Assembly, as well as removal of Chairman and Deputy Chairman of State Legislative Councils. So again, so technically this effective majority is basically used for removal of all of the presiding officers of the parliament, that is the union legislature, as well as that of the state legislatures. We are clear on this? That is an idea of effective majority. So this is where the Constitution is telling that again, Article 19(4)(c) basically tells that the Speaker of the House can be removed by a resolution which is to be passed by all the then members of the House, given the condition that a 14 days prior notice has to be given before introducing such resolution. That is the condition. But how exactly the process of removal is going to be there, it has been mentioned in the rules of procedure and conduct of business in Lok Sabha. This is where you can see questions or statements in prelims examination coming, that the process of removal, right, with respect to the conditions which I'm going to discuss, is mentioned where? In the Constitution or in the rules of procedure of conduct of business in Lok Sabha. So under this, chapter 18 basically deals with a resolution for removal of Speaker or Deputy Speaker from the office. So again, how exactly it is going to happen? Rule number 200 basically tells that whenever a member is wanting to introduce a motion against the Speaker, he has to give in writing to the Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, right? So this is the first condition. If the member, any member wants to move or wants to move a resolution for the removal process of a Speaker of Lok Sabha, he has to give a notice to whom? To the Secretary General of Lok Sabha. That is the first condition, right? So Secretary General has to be given to the notice, and then after receiving such notice by the Secretary General, then we need to take leave of the House, right? So again, as I discussed, in order to discuss a resolution for the removal process of the Speaker of Lok Sabha, a 14 days notice has to be given, right? So for that matter, just by moving a note or a no confidence motion does not mean we are going to very instantly start the resolution of removal of Lok Sabha. For that, what we require is a 14 days prior notice has to be given. So in this case, a leave of the house is required, and for that, after the motion is given to the Secretary General, a 14 days notice is being given to the house, right? And then a motion for leave to move the resolution shall be entering the list of business in the name of the concerned member who has given this notice. And again, given the condition, the day shall be of any day after the 14 days from the date of receipt of notice of this resolution. That is a basic condition. Technically, what is happening? The member of parliament is giving a notice to Secretary General, and then the leave of the house is required. But for that resolution to take place, a 14 days notice has to be given. Then after 14 days notice, we are going to introduce that resolution. So for that, again, one more condition is there, कि the notice that such a resolution which is being admissible is only admissible if there are few conditions which are being met. So the admission of the resolution is only going to be accepted if it is satisfying these three conditions. Number one, it shall be specific with respect to the charges against the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. It shall be very clearly and precisely expressed, and it should not contain any arguments, inferences, ironical expressions, imputations, or defamatory statements. So these are the conditions which need to be satisfied in order for a resolution to be admitted in Lok Sabha for the removal process of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Then, after this resolution has been accepted, as I discussed, after 14 days, the leave of the house is required. So what is the meaning of leave of the house? So again, a motion of removal of Lok Sabha is going to be is going to be admitted or not is also going to be determined by following criteria. So the presiding officer, on the day wherein we are going to accept that resolution, he is going to tell that all the members of the house, those who are in favor of this motion, they have to rise. So again, at least 50 members of parliament must stand, and then only leave is granted for the discussion of that resolution of the Speaker of removal process of Lok Sabha is concerned. If at this stage 50 members are not rising with respect to granting the leave, then the resolution stands dismissed here itself. So that is the first condition. So again, this is basically a filtering mechanism before the resolution is being discussed for the removal of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Then after that, what is happening? Once the leave of the house is being taken, then a specific date is being appointed that on this day we are going to discuss the resolution, and of course it will be included in the list of business of that particular day. And on that day of discussion, the discussion for the resolution shall be strictly confined to the charges which have been moved in the resolution. So you cannot discuss anything beyond what on the charges, what you have actually listed once you have admitted a resolution for the removal process of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Then, except the permission of the presiding officer who is going to be there, who is going to be addressing or presiding the house in case the discussion of resolution of the Speaker is concerned, there has to be a time limit which is being given over here. So the time limit is the speech on the resolution shall not exceed 15 minutes in duration. But there is one condition: if the member who has introduced that resolution, if he is giving the speech, he can make the speech beyond 15 minutes, but given the condition, he has to take permission of the presiding officer of that house. So that is the basic rules. Then after this, what would happen? Then if the speech is happening, then again voting will happen. And what kind of majority do we require? Majority of all the then members of the house. And if it is being passed, the speaker is removed. If it is not passed, speaker is not removed. Article 96 basically tells that whenever a resolution for the removal process of the presiding officer, that is Lok Sabha, is being discussed, he cannot preside over the house. So in that case, the house will be presided by the deputy speaker, but speaker, if he is not a speaker, he is a member of the parliament, so he can take part in the proceedings of the house, he can speak on his defense, he can vote in such resolution in the very first instance, but he is not going to vote in case of a tie, because he is not the speaker when his removal process is being discussed or voted upon in the Lok Sabha. That is a very basic condition. And again, this is where UPSC has been asking again questions on some of the factual nature. So till now, there has been 3 cases in the history where again a motion has been introduced for the removal of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. That has happened in 1954, 1966 and 1987. And none of these motions have been passed and no speaker has been removed till now. So again, there could be statement questions in prelims examination on the basis of these facts. So till now, there has been no speaker who has been removed, or there could be a question or a statement that no motion has been introduced against any speaker in the history. So this is where questions could be framed. 3 times a motion or a resolution has been introduced, but it has not passed. So that is a basic condition. And then you understand, if you have understood the entire process of removal of the Speaker of Lok Sabha, you must have to be admitting the fact that the process of removal is very tough, right? Because we require effective majority, right? And not the members present and voting. So it of course makes the process removal quite tough. And why the process is tough, right? Because Speaker is basically a neutral person who is appointed to preside over the house. He has been regarded as the guardian of parliamentary procedure, right? Because he takes up very important matters into consideration. He has a final authority with respect to whether a bill is going to be a money bill or not. In case of anti-defection decisions, he is the one who is deciding it. He has the power to suspend members in case of certain violations. And that is where you can understand that why the removal process is very tough to ensure a stability in the working process of the parliament. And that is why a 14 days prior notice, 50 members threshold in order to decide or take the leave of the house is required. Then it has a very strict administrative rules with respect to admission of that resolution with 3 conditions what we have discussed. And the majority itself is very tough. That is the effective strength of the house. That is all the then members of the house. That makes it quite tough. So as this position or a post is in news, that makes these topics important for your examination. So whatever we have discussed, please read it from the context of prelims examination, because as examination is approaching, all such topics which are there in news gives you a hint. From these topics, there could be probable questions in the examination. So keep watching for more such videos. All the very best.